Hello everyone, and welcome back to your APS BSS YouTube channel. My name is Molly Keys, and this is part 2 of K-2 behavior in the online environment. So let's dive right in. What are we covering today in part 2? Well, we're going to start out with talking a little bit about routines and structure. How can you bring routines into your online environment? Then we're going to transition into parent communication. Then we are going to touch quickly on a few online tools that I've found to be very helpful. And very last, we're going to discuss what to do in a home crisis. Because as we enter into this new area of online education, we are finding that we are witnessing new and sometimes disheartening behaviors that we have not seen in the past. So today we're going to discuss a few of those that we've seen. First of all, routines. A routine is essentially a task that's performed on a daily basis the same way or close to the same way every day. We all have routines in our face-to-face classrooms, such as kindergartners might come into the classroom the same way every day, put away their backpacks the same way, and then go sit in the morning meeting circle the same way every day. That's a routine. It adds structure to the environment, and that structure provides predictability. Predictability then provides a sense of safety, especially for our younger students. We've all seen the benefits of routines, whether that's in our own daily lives, in our families, or in our classrooms. So the question remains, can my routines translate to online instruction? And the answer to that is yes. The routines that you had in your classroom can and need to be present in some way or another so that you can scaffold your students in learning to learn online. Now, we're not going to have our students put their backpacks away or wait in line for their breakfasts the same way that we would in an in-person class. But we can have other structures in place that provide that same sense of routine, safety, and structure. These can include sometimes morning meetings, methods of show and tell, quick morning zones of regulation check-ins, or body breaks. And there's many, many more that you can include, such as every time you start a math lesson, you start with a particular question that's an activity-based question. The students perform that activity and then share out their answers. Then you follow up with the lesson. This is an example of a structure that you can add to your classroom. So here's a quick example routine structure that you can use. In this example, I use the language of first, next, last. First we, next we, last we. This structure allows you to teach your routines with as few steps as possible, with as much clarity as possible, and in a way that can be easily displayed to your students. In my example, I used a beginning of class routine. First, we log into Google Meet with our mics muted. Next, we draw a picture in response to the teacher's prompt. Last, we wait until we are called on by the teacher so that we can share what we drew. In this example, I'm essentially imagining that the teacher would either be telling the students what to draw or having an example up on the screen that the students can finish, like a squiggle that the students would then copy onto a piece of paper and finish up with the picture. Or maybe there would be a single word on the screen and you want your students to draw a picture of that single word. Whatever it might be, this is less of an academic activity and more of a routine that gets your students into the academic mindset. It helps your students to transition from their home sets of expectations to the school sets of expectations. But remember, 3 things about routines that I always want you to keep in mind. First, routines need to be taught. Next, routines need to be practiced. And last, routines need to be reinforced. Just like when we set new expectations for our classroom, we need to teach them, practice them together, and reinforce them with positive and corrective reinforcement. The same is true of routines and structures. You need to teach what the routine looks like. You need to practice that routine with the whole class, and you need to reinforce that routine with your whole class. In my own personal classroom, when I was teaching first grade, for example, I had routines and structures for just about anything. For example, if a student needed to sharpen a pencil, I had a very, very explicit routine for how that student would sharpen their pencil. Now, sharpening pencils doesn't necessarily translate to the online environment, but something like sharing certainly does. In my online class, if I had one, I would certainly have a routine in place, such as using an extension that allows a student to raise their hand, and I'll go over that in detail in the online resources section. First, students will raise their hand using the not extension. Next, students will wait to be called on. Last, when a student is called on, they will unmute their mics and share. That first, next, last provides a great structure to teach your routines. Next, let's touch on parent communication. In this online environment, parents truly are your teaching partners. Before, they were almost an accountability check-in, someone that you would reach out to if there were big issues in the classroom, someone that you would inform of how the child was doing in your class. But never before have we needed to be this in touch with each other and this close in collaboration with one another. So I'm going to touch on 3 aspects of your parent communication. First, communicating in-class issues. Next, providing engaging learning activities. And last, listening to at-home issues. When we are communicating in-class issues, we need to remember that parents now play a key role in helping us to correct behavior from home. We need to make sure that we are communicating our school time expectations to our parents so that we can offer them methods and ideas for how to reinforce those expectations. In a lot of ways, you are the person that sets the expectations, and the parents are now in a role where they can help to enforce those expectations. This is a beautiful partnership that you can build together that helps expand the parents' understanding of how school time works. Your parents can provide reinforcement in the form of rewards, positive reinforcement language, or much more. They can also help to provide some simple consequences that can help a child to relearn the expected behavior. Now, I would recommend that you give examples of some consequences that could be helpful, because otherwise we might find that the consequences don't necessarily match the misbehavior. Next, what I'm getting at with providing engaging learning activities isn't so much an activity that engages the student, but rather an activity that engages the student, the parent, and you as a team. Consider ways that activities can be simplified and reduced so that they're focused on social emotional learning and learning to learn online while the students are at home. These are activities that can engage the parents as students, with the student being the teacher. Or activities that ask the student and parent to work together as a collaborative team. In any way, remember that this time is mostly for learning to learn online. And if we're going to teach our students to do that, then we also need to teach them to utilize their parents as resources. So choose simplified activities that are reduced and focused on that area, and engage the parent as much as possible. Next, listening to at-home issues. Now, this is something that I've spoken to a few parents about and many teachers as well. More and more, our team is hearing about behaviors that are occurring at home that are a result of students struggling to learn in the at-home environment. Parents are in desperate need of your help. They're struggling and seeing their students as learners for the first time. Offering yourself as a resource for parents can help bridge the gap between the school environment and the home environment. It can also help to mend relationships between parents and children as we move forward in this new educational era. Listening to at-home issues also helps to validate parents' feelings. We're all struggling right now. Parents are punishing themselves and pushing themselves hard to get their kids to learn. Sometimes the listening, compassionate ear of a child's teacher can be exactly what a parent needs to hear. Just like sometimes hearing validation from parents can be something that lifts our spirits up, the same is true the other way around. So offer yourself as a tool for your parents and a resource, because oftentimes what they really need is to hear from someone that knows their kids as well as they do. And that's you. Next, I've provided some online tools and resources for you to check out for your online class. Now, some of these are links, so you'll have to check out our website to access these links through the PDF that I will post of this presentation. Others are things that you can Google for yourself. I'll go through a few of these examples just to explain them quickly, but I won't go through all of them. I think a lot of them are actually quite self-explanatory. So first, in the SEL section, I've provided some resources that connect to CASEL, C-A-S-E-L, which is the Center for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. CASEL is an excellent organization that seeks to improve our ability as teachers and parents to bring social emotional learning into classrooms and students' lives. They also have resources for adults so that we as adults can begin to practice better social emotional skills for ourselves. I've also included a link to Second Step. Second Step is a social emotional learning curriculum, and they've made many of their resources available online for free to teachers so that they can begin to integrate social emotional learning into their classrooms. In the behavior management section, I'm not going to go over Class Dojo because most of us have already heard of it. If you haven't, check it out. It's great. Nod is an extension for Google Meet. It allows you to have your students raise their hands silently. They can show a thumbs up for understanding something, thumbs down for needing some clarification, and other reactions that help your students to interact with the classroom non-verbally. Classroom Screen is an online smartboard with all of the tools that you would often associate with a smartboard, including timers, noise meters, and more. These tools can be very helpful in an online class because they can help to guide and structure your instruction in a way that just using Google Meet alone can be difficult. Mindfulness. In this section, I've included a link to headspace.com. Headspace.com has excellent resources for mindfulness and meditation. Headspace.com is free for educators and students for 1 year during this COVID crisis. So make sure that you check it out and see what tools might be useful for you. In engagement and instruction, I've included a list of different ways that you can engage students in learning. These are great resources to explore for helping students to not only learn to learn online, but find their learning during this time exciting and fun. So check it out, especially Google Meet extensions. If you just type into your Google search bar, Google Meet extensions, it will bring up a list of extensions that you can use for everything from classroom whiteboards to attendance takers and interactive options. Check out which ones are useful for you. Last and very importantly, I want to touch on a few of the extreme behaviors and crisis concerns that our team has been made aware of. Now, some of these are performed by students, and others are performed by other individuals living in the student's home. All of them are concerning, and they all force us to consider ways in which we can change our classroom structure and the students' learning structures to help address them. For some of them, like adults and teenagers who are disrupting a student's learning, we can ask the child to change their learning environment by moving to another room or perhaps by sitting in a space where their screen faces to a wall so that there's not room behind them for adults to walk by or for others to intrude upon the Google Meet call. Others are things that might cause you to cancel your online class altogether and reschedule for another time. If you're finding adults forcing students to participate in class, either physically or with harsh verbal language, then you might want to consider canceling class to avoid exposing your students to that kind of stress. The same is true with adults fighting in the background. I applaud our students who are trying so hard to learn in some difficult environments. But when adults are fighting in the background of a Google Meet call, you're now exposing all of your students in the class to that language and possibly even physical violence. It's important that we avoid exposing our youngest students to this kind of behavior, so we need to sometimes consider canceling class and rescheduling for later. Some of these events may also qualify as a CYFD call. So, if you are concerned for a child's safety, or if you are suspicious of possible physical or sexual abuse, then call CYFD. You do not need to have evidence of abuse, just a reasonable suspicion. If you are unsure of whether or not you should call CYFD because of something that you saw on a child's camera, then talk to your building principal as soon as possible to discuss next steps. If you have other questions about these kinds of behaviors and your building principal hasn't given you solutions that are applicable to you, then please reach out to us. A BSS can help you in your online class in a variety of ways. Contact us if you need help with a student who's making it difficult to teach, if you're seeing behavioral issues across your class, if you need specific professional development, or if you just want to brainstorm new approaches to behavior and engagement. If you just have questions, feel free to contact us. We are enthusiastic about providing assistance, and we have offered assistance in a variety of ways, like setting up one-on-one or small group Google Meet sessions, sitting in on your online class with our microphone and camera off to observe student behaviors, discussing methods or providing resources via email. And we can even talk with you over the phone to determine next steps and provide you with assistance. We're here for you. So please contact us. Whether you want to follow us on Twitter, submit a ticket for behavioral help, you can do that on our website, sites.google.com/aps.edu/bssaps, or you can email us at bss@aps.edu. Thank you for joining us today for this video on kindergarten through second grade behavioral management tips. And please subscribe to our channel for more professional development videos and content that is geared towards your behavioral needs. If you have any comments or questions, or if you have ideas for future videos, please leave them below in the comments and we'll get back to you. Have an excellent rest of your day, rest of your week, and rest of the school year.